A continuación, en Poder 97.1, tu hora informativa. Entrevistas e información para nuestra comunidad. Y ahora con ustedes, Ida Pérez.
Buenos días, mi gente de Rochester, y bienvenido a su hora informativa. Mi nombre es Ida Pérez y para mí es un verdadero placer poder estar con ustedes en esta mañana. Su hora informativa es un programa que les trae información importante que esperamos que los inspire a una mejor calidad de vida para usted y su familia. Cubrimos información sobre los campos de salud, educación, empleo, vivienda y muchos otros temas más que nos afectan como persona y como pueblo. Su hora informativa está aquí todos los sábados de 10 a 11 de la mañana y nos alegramos muchísimo de que estén con nosotros en el día de hoy. I was just saying that, we air every Saturday from 10 to 11 and that I'm really glad that everyone is here with us today. And today I have two guests that have never been here before, so we're excited to have you. And I'm going to ask you to tell us who you are, where, how long you've been here in Rochester, and where does your family originally come from? And so I don't know who wants to start.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having us. We are excited to be here. I am Apostle Linda Strickland Wyatt of Church of Life Ministries. I am born, raised, educated right here in the city of Rochester, New York. A proud graduate of Benjamin Franklin High School.
All right.
And then Roberts Wesleyan College.
Okay, I graduated from there too.
Did
Awesome.
you really?
Yep.
Awesome, yes. And so my family originated from Virginia and Alabama.
Okay, and where did they originally come from? Like, how did they ended up in Virginia and Alabama?
Originally, I believe my mom's family, I think she was born in North Carolina, and from North Carolina to Virginia.
Okay.
My dad, I'm not sure. I believe they started out in Alabama.
And how did you end up in Rochester?
Well, I was born here. So
Okay.
so my mom moved here as a teenager. Her mom passed away, unfortunately, when she was very young. And so she was raised by her grandma. And so her grandma came here for a job, to work.
For a job,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. And what about you, Kelly?
I know. So I'm Cassandra Kelly, member of Church of Life Ministries. I was born in Eufaula, Alabama. And my family originated from Dundee, Florida.
Okay.
So I originated from Alabama and then I moved here to Rochester when I was 16.
And how did you end up here in Rochester?
I came because my mother lived here and I lived with my father. And I decided to stay with my mother. And at 16, I traveled to Rochester to live with my mother.
Okay.
Because I was being raised by my grandmother as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I always like to ask that question just to kind of figure out, how did people end up in Rochester, right? Of all places, why do people come to Rochester and why do they stay here in Rochester? And it's always interesting to know where people actually come from, how long they've been here and what brought them here. A lot of times it's work. Sometimes people had families here, so they come with their family. Sometimes it's love. Sometimes it's education. So it's always interesting to see, what things do we have in common and what made us come here in Rochester. So tell us a little bit about, because we're going to be talking about some of the services that you provide at your church. So tell us a little bit about that. How did this church start?
Well, the church was founded in the year 2000, so we just celebrated 24 years.
Okay.
Yes, wonderful. God is faithful.
Nice milestone.
Yes. Looking forward to 25. I'm already planning our celebration. We were founded in the year 2000, and we are a non-denominational church located at 1751 Clifford Avenue, just northeast of Goodman Street.
Okay.
And so we have been there just working and being a service to our neighbors in the area and extended neighbors as well. Wherever there is a need, we look for a way that we can provide something to help them.
Okay. And why there? Why there? Why in that area in
That
particular?
location? Well, God blessed us with that location.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a quick story about that. So what happened, I was looking for a building because we started out in the basement of my home.
Okay.
And I ran into a friend that I worked with at Bausch Shalom, and she had become a real estate agent. And I told her, I need a building for the church. And we had been praying, and the Lord led us to go to that location. It was a medical billing company.
Okay.
Prior to our taking over the building. And the gentleman was relocating to Florida. And so God is so good. We were a very small congregation, didn't have a whole lot of dollars, but we were believing God that he was going to provide for this building. Well, The building, originally he was asking around $54,000. Well, we didn't have $54,000. And the Holy Spirit had spoke to me and said, you will not have a mortgage. I said, well, Lord, how are we going to get a building without a mortgage? Make a long story short, the gentleman ended up dropping the price of the cost of the building to $24,000.
Wow.
Because he said that he felt in his spirit that we were the ones that were supposed to have that building. And so we actually had $20,000 cash. So we were still short the $4,000, right? So I'm like, okay, where am I going to get the $4,000 from? And I was going to take it out of my 401k. I attended a women's conference that weekend, and the woman of God spoke, and she said, excuse me, whoever that pastor is in this building, the Lord is saying, don't you dare touch that money in your 401k. I'm like looking around like, are you kidding me? Well, and so what ended up happening is the previous owner said to me, if you will allow me to just store some things in the basement for a year, you can take that $4,000, divide it into 12 payments, and then it'll be your building.
Wow.
So we never had a mortgage for the building.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's God.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely, for sure. Now, what made you go into pastoring?
I was called.
Tell us about that.
Okay. I was actually working for Baal Shalom at the time, manager of a finance organization there, doing quite well. God was so good, blessing me with a great career there. But my husband and I had attended a church, and we were being led to stay home. And I went to my pastor, and I said to him, I don't know what's going on, but the Holy Spirit keeps telling me to stay home. And so he said, okay. He said, well, you be obedient. And we were watching Dr. Frederick K.C. Price on television, and we were laying in bed that morning watching the show and the service, and I heard my name called. And I said to my husband, I said, yes, honey, did you call me? He says, I didn't say your name. And I heard it again. And I said, Jeff, I said, what is it? He said, Linda, I promise you I didn't say your name. I heard the audible voice of God. And he said to me, get up and go into your office. And I went and I sat down at my desk, and I began to type out the name of the church, the order of service, the first sermon, all typed up. And I went back into the bedroom and I said, honey, God has called me to be a pastor. And I said, this is what he's given me. He goes, well, when did you do all of that? I said, just now when I went into the office. And we started the church on that day. I called my mom and my sisters and my auntie, and they all came over to my home, and we started downstairs in my basement, and that was in April of the year 2000.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's important to talk about these things because a lot of people don't believe in that. Right? A lot of people don't listen.
Right.
Because I think we're all called in some ways.
Yes.
But we often don't listen.
Well,
right?
I was ordained. I was ordained by the Holy Spirit first, and then 3 years later by man.
Yeah. But it's I've heard many testimonies like that. But people, I like I said, I feel like we're all. And I was talking about my mom earlier, and I think my mom, in her ways, she was called. My mom just had a very different way of thinking and seeing the world, and and the way she noticed people and things like it. Definitely a calling, I think, for her, but we don't often listen to those things, right? We don't often think about, or we don't often sit in silence enough to really listen to what God is telling us.
Right, and I think
we're so busy with the noise that we don't listen to what's really God is telling us.
And I think that's the reason why the Holy Spirit was leading me to stay home and so that I can be quiet and hear from Him.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. Kelly, what is your involvement? Cassandra, what's your involvement with the church?
Well, first of all, I'm just excited to be there. Number one, so for me, Church of Life Ministries is just that. It's the life. It's changing the lives of people. So we can see the impact. We see people when they come in, and then we see how they evolve at the church. So they may come in a low place. And then we just give them the word. We look at what their needs are. What can we support them with? And then they just become a whole new creature. And then they're just up and flying and giving us these great testimonies of what happened in life, what God has done for them, how He's blessed them. Is it a new job? Is it a new car? Is it their new career that they're looking for? So it's just one great thing after another. And so for that, when you can see people growing and moving, and you can encourage and inspire someone, that's the work. And that's kind of like, oh, I can do this all day with my eyes closed. And I love it. I enjoy people. I love people. And I never meet a stranger. And that's makes the difference.
I like that. I never meet a stranger.
I never meet a stranger.
Yeah,
I never meet I don't care what part of life, where you're at in your walk, where you're at in your career. I never meet a stranger.
So we've known each other for how long? Almost 40 years?
Almost 40 years.
Almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Yes. So, because I worked at ABC for 17 years. Yes. And then I've been with Ibero for 19 years.
Yes.
So when I moved to Ibero, we were still part of Head Start. So I've known Kelly for this long. And I say Kelly because, I always miss Kelly. And one of the things I was saying earlier to Pastor was that you're one of those people that are consistent.
Yes.
Like you've always been the same since the day I've met you. Like it's never, ever, ever, ever changed.
Yes, that is correct. And most people will say, she work in human resources. But if I see you at Wegmans, Tops, regardless, my personality is always the personality. I'm going to always greet you with a hug and a smile and a kind word. And that's what we need today.
Yes.
That's what people really need. Consistency.
Yeah. But it's interesting because you said, I like helping people.
Yes.
And your day job is that, helping people. You are in part of the Action for a Better Community Human Resource Department, and you've always been there. I've always known you to be in that department. And I know that when I worked there, you were the person to go to because Kelly always had the answers, or she always greeted you with a smile. She never brushed you off. Like, okay, and if she said, honey, I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. I'm going to call you back. And that's exactly what you would do. So it's kind of cool, right? How life is, that here we are in a different way, but still working together and still sharing time together. And it's just awesome, that we've known each other for that long. What are some of the services that you guys provide other than, people, I'm assuming, going to your church on Sunday, right, and going to your service, but it's beyond that, right? So what are some of those things that you do beyond your walls of your church?
We have truly been blessed to be in a position to make a difference in so many different ways. For example, we have a food cupboard that is outdoors. And so it's stocked with food items, with, depending on the time of year, we will have some fresh food items as well as the non-perishables. We also put out their books, Bibles. And around Christmas time, we actually put toys out there. Whatever we feel that we can put out there that our neighbors would have need of. In addition to the food cupboard, we also have a soup kitchen. It's a mobile soup
wow,
kitchen.
what?
Yes.
Mobile?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay. We currently we meet on the corner of, North Clinton and Pleasant Street. Right near the YWCA, around that area near the bus station. And we give out free soup and coffee. And also, again, other items as we have feel that there's a need for our community. So we've given out blankets and gloves and whatever, clothing items. Items.
Now, with the food pantry, are you connected with Food Link, or where does the food come from?
Well, no, we're not connected with Food Link. Our donations come in from private donations, some from Wegmans. And then because we have some grants, we also use money to purchase items as we need them.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I know food pantry, it's hard work, because you have to constantly be replenishing what you have and making sure that you have enough. And, and I don't know how it is for you guys, but other food pantries that I see, the line can be a mile long, right, of people that come to be serviced. Now, you service anyone, or does people have to be from that area to be serviced, or it could be anyone from anywhere
As
in Monroe County.
And as I mentioned, it is an outdoor cupboard, so it's open and available to anyone.
Okay.
And there, of course, those that know are aware of it, so they come often. But then the word gets around, and you'll see sometimes other ones will come, in their cars, you know. So,
Yeah. And it's it's interesting because there is still a food shortage, right, in our city, and we often hear about families that don't always have enough, right, to eat. And so anyone that's, managing some type of food pantry is important in our city, and for people to know because, there's still a need out there. I see it all every day, in the different food pantries that we even have. And in this area, I see the lines that are really long, and so there's always a need. So if someone wanted to donate something for whether it's toys, whether it's books, whether it's food, where do they go? Who do they call? Who can they contact?
They can contact myself, Apostle Linda Strickland Wyatt, and the number to reach will be at 585-654-7979. If you call that number, that is the church line. And so just leave your message, and either myself or someone, some of the other leaders will contact you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about, who else do you partner with, and what are some of the other things that you're doing?
I am excited to share with you, my sister. We have partnered with the YWCA.
Okay.
We went over and renovated their single room occupancy areas. There are 3 floors of somewhat like a dorm setting where the women share the living room or common room, and as well the kitchen. So we went over and we painted.
Nice.
We brought new furniture. We totally renovated the area. And the reason that we felt a need to do that is we visited there and saw that it needed a little TLC. And we wanted to create an atmosphere where the women felt comfortable, where they felt proud to invite their families to come in and visit with them, as well as somewhere where they would come out and naturally join in with each other and have fun. We set up a natural game table for them so they can play the games. It's just a wonderful, wonderful project that we took on working with the YWCA and the Faith Leaders Roundtable as well. In addition, there were members from the YWCA board that came and helped us paint. Some of the residents helped us paint, and M&T Bank. M&T Bank, I think they brought maybe about 20 volunteers.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Nice.
Yes.
Nice. And so how did you guys gather the funding for that? Like, because paint costs money, furniture costs money. Like, how were you able to do all of that?
Again, just God really connecting us with the right people. We've been blessed to receive private donations.
Okay.
We've received donations from the Greater Rochester Health Foundation.
Yes.
And so with those dollars and the other dollars that we had, we were able to connect with what was the furniture store? Markson's in Greece. Wonderful, worked with us to give us a great discount to purchase some of the items as well. So many people, different organizations, and different businesses all came together to help make this happen for the women at the YWCA or the families at the YWCA.
Yeah, cool. That's really good. And I think you're right. I think, when people have a nice, clean, inviting place, it'll naturally create, right, those time to spend together, to want to be there, to want to share with one another, kind of just naturally happens, right?
Exactly.
When there's a nice, this is really nice. I want to sit here for a while, and the next thing somebody else is coming. And then, the next thing you have a group of people talking and sharing and things like that.
Yes.
So, the facade of things is really important, to invite people to come in and feel welcome. That's pretty cool.
Can I also share with you another
Yes, of
organization?
course.
We also support the Office of Children and Family Services, where we have collaborated with a local caterer, and she provides the meal. We provide the facility and some of the games, and we bring in those families and provide a dinner for them, and that's done once a month. To have them come over and just come together and fellowship and fun.
And where do the families come from?
The Office of Family and Children Services.
Okay. But families that are either like in foster care or abused, because OCFS does so many different things. Like, is it a specific group of families that you're targeting, or
No,
or any families that they recommend, or
they actually, the families that they're supporting, so they determine who they're. I believe they invite all families, so it's open to whomever. Yes.
oh, that's nice. And so what kind of happens there? They come and get a meal, but what else happens?
Oh, we have fun games and prizes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I never thought about that. You know, those families having to come together as well. And that's pretty cool. You might want to add a parenting workshop component to that.
Yes, and that
you
is
know?
that is our plan.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because that would be good if you have, you know, a group of a captured audience to bring some kind of, you know, things about, you know, raising children and, you know, proper guidance and, you know, get away from the spanking and other ways of doing that. And
Right.
yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You know, what else? What else are you doing? What else are you doing out there?
So I was going to say, when she was talking about the food cupboard, I want to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, because when she said it's free, it is free. We stock it, and we kind of designed it so people that are in the community who does not have transportation can walk up to it. You can walk up to that, take out what you need. And we just try to keep it replenished. So it's always something. And then what we did also add to that was a book library, because there's a desert library in that area. And so we consistently keep it filled with different books for adults and children, so they can come and just take those books and keep them and continue to keep reading. Just because, you know, education, knowledge is power. And so we want to be able to do that for them.
I think the book thing is also really important. We just added one at the International Plaza through the Latino Rotary Club.
Oh, nice.
And last week when I went, it was full.
Yes.
Yesterday when I went, it was empty.
Wonderful.
I was like, whoa.
Somebody's reading.
Well, and the thing about it is that you never thought of what there was until that, you know, that book thing showed up, right? And I was like, wow, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh my God, the whole thing is empty. Like, it was completely full. You couldn't fit another book in there. And now it's completely full. So it's really interesting, right? When you put things out like that, you know, what are truly the needs of the people in the community? You would think, oh, they're not going to read. No, they're not reading because they don't have it. But if they have it, they will. So that's pretty cool. And I'm assuming that you have all sorts of books for either for children, for adults. You know, it really doesn't matter what type of books are out there.
And we mix it up every week. We mix it up, and then what we see is what people are reading, and we see what's been moved the most, and then we make sure we keep supplying that. And oftentimes, I'm out there, people walk up and just start to take books, and then I ask them, "What do you like? What you like to read? You know, if there's something you have a interest in. Is it coloring books? Is it what age population are we looking? And that's what we make sure that we continue to keep doing, you know, for them, which is nice, which is very rewarding, of course.
So tell me a little bit about. Let's go back to the pantry, like you said, but tell me a little, because you said it's outdoors.
Yes, it is.
So how is that? How is that set up? Give us like a vision of what that looks like.
So it's built, it's like a house.
Okay.
It's built just like a house with shingles on it. And it's built right outside the church, right outside the outside of the church. And it's enclosed, so there's no rain or, you know.
Okay.
And you can just walk up
So it's
to
like
it.
a door you open and in there's shelves with things on. Okay.
Yes, there's Bibles there. People can get free Bibles and books and food all in one wonderful shelving unit.
I'm gonna have to drive by there just to look at it, because now I'm curious of what that really looks like.
Yeah, when you drive on the side, right on the side of Winterroth Street, you're gonna see it right there. You'll be like, oh my goodness, you never knew it was there. But we have a signage over it. It says cupboard, free books, free food. So the signage, so people know that it's available.
So it's literally available 24 hours.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And we have lights on there and cameras on there, and so people can feel secure walking up to that.
Right, walking up and getting what they need.
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought. I mean, I've seen the ones for books, and I've seen some little ones for food, but I didn't know, like, you know, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You know, what are some of the things that you're looking to do now in the future? Like, what are some of the things that you're working on?
We will continue to serve our community in whatever capacity is needed. Anything that we can do to make a difference. And one of the things that we know to be true is that our children need safe places to in which for them to grow, for them to learn and to grow. So when school is out, what are the parents going to do? So if there are any collaborations that are out there that we can join in with to help make sure that those spaces are provided, we're on board. We will make sure that we're still providing support for those who are going through trauma. We know that because of the amount of violence that's occurring within our communities, that our children they're dealing with this. They're exposed to all of these things, and it does affect them. We've had several focal groups where we brought in the children and the parents to talk to them a little bit and allow them to give their voice, to share their voice on how they feel. So we provided trauma training or awareness training using a licensed facilitator to come in to talk about, what is trauma? How do you identify that? And then what are some of the things that we can provide as far as tools to teach our children how to manage through those type of things? And so we definitely want to keep those type of trainings going because our community does, in fact, need that. We will continue our efforts to make a difference within the city school district. There's a lot of work to be done. We can't fix everything, but whenever we can make a difference, we will continue to do so. We started a clothing closet at number 25 school. I'd like to expand that to other schools if they don't have them, the elementary schools, because it's important for our children to have, clean clothes to wear. So I would like to collaborate again with whomever to make sure that all of our elementary schools have a clothes closet.
It's interesting. Not so long ago, I interviewed the Children's Agenda, and one of their initiative is the whole suspension thing, right? To kind of eliminate that and solutions instead of suspension. And they were saying that some kids are suspended for not wearing their uniform, really? Which I thought was ridiculous.
Yes.
But I've also have worked very closely with Children's Institute looking into attendance and what keeps kids from not going to school, right? And interesting enough, although we think a lot about transportation, that type of thing, some of it was that I don't have laundry detergent to wash my clothes. And that's why my child hasn't gone to school, because I don't want to send them with dirty clothes. You know what I mean? So it's something like, whoa, you know what I mean? So thinking about, and I know that a lot of schools have made efforts in having some kind of food pantry in their schools, but not all of them may have a clothing one, where if a kid, may needs, just a clean shirt to wear to school,
right.
They could go right there and get one, right? We may not be able to have a laundry mat, for every student, to provide for every student, but, that kind of eliminates, right? So that's one way of eliminating kids from having poor attendance if they have some way of getting clean clothes.
Right. So I know that 25 school does, in fact, have washer and dryer that they utilize. But in addition, as you're talking about attendance, I was thinking about the bicycle competition that we offered at number 25 school, and that is the children were not showing up for the test. And so I said, when I was told that, I said, well, how do we fix this? So we came up with the idea that we would have a contest for bicycles. So we purchased 2 bicycles per grade, grades 3 through 6. And all the children needed to do was show up for their test and complete the test. They would get a ticket. And then those
Put
tickets
their
were
names
put
in
for
the
the drawing,
yeah.
right? And then they would win a bicycle. So we've done that now for 2 years.
Has it increased the amount of students?
I'm excited to tell you.
That's awesome.
Yes. Last year, I think it was 90%.
Wow.
This year, it was 100%.
Wow.
Yes.
Since you started doing the bike thing.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. And what was it prior to that? Like, what was the percentage prior to that?
If I remember correctly, I want to say like 40 or 50.
Whoa.
Yes, it was very low. Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure it was pretty low, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was important because it's the day of that exam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a full week of exams.
Yeah.
So you incentive them to come, and
Yes.
sometimes you have to do that, right? Like, you should go get the test because you need to go get the test, right?
Right.
But if there's something that's going to motivate you to come, and if you were at 40 or
50%,
let's say even if it was 50,
right,
I mean,
right.
The fact that you had 100% this year, that's super awesome.
Yes,
that's
it is.
super awesome. Yeah, but the clothing part, comes up often. Like we don't think about that.
Right.
Quickly we think about transportation, or we think about, the parent just doesn't encourage these kids to come. We just don't know. And I think that's part of the thing that, that we have to be more mindful of. One of the things that we often ask our parents, and I know that the director of Summer Leap does this too, what are the hopes and dreams for your child? Like if you ask any parent, what are the hopes and dreams for your child? Every parent is going to tell you, right? I want them to be successful. I want them to go to school. I want them to have a career. I want them to be safe. Whatever it may be, it's always going to be a positive answer. So I don't think that parents keep their kids intentionally. I don't think that they do it, out of malice or that they don't care, right? Because quickly people think, they just don't care about their kids. No, we just don't know, right? We don't know what's happening in that household that's keeping that kid from coming to school. And I'm finding that more and more it's about, I don't have laundry detergent to wash the clothes, and I don't want to send my kid to school with dirty clothes, or, we just had a really bad night and we just didn't get enough sleep, or others, we find a lot, we have a very ill family member that, everybody's caring for, and it's just exhausting, so there's all these other reasons why kids don't come to school. And but I think the clothing one, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a different one that I haven't heard too much about. I've heard more of providing food, but I haven't heard being able to provide clothes.
And I think for us too, we look at the barriers. What are the barriers that's kind of got families in those places? What can we do to eliminate some of the barriers for them? We also kind of realize sometime in the school that the kids don't have the personal items that they need. And so we kind of put together some kits for the kids to have the personal items. And maybe some soap or
deodorant, sanitary napkins, whatever the case may be, that you'd be surprised that some people may not have.
And so we heard that from the staff, and then we put those together so the staff is able to discreetly work with the youth and give them those items that
and
they need.
The teacher will know. Teacher will know if a child's hungry, if he's sleepy, if he's not feeling well, or if something's on his mind. Like teachers that are really in tune with their students, they're gonna know. But I think that's really cool, right? That you guys have been working with this particular school and have been being able to provide some needs for that particular school. Now, what is the competition? What is what's the word I want to use? Like, what is the demographics of your church and of the school? Like, who are the people that you're serving?
We serve any and everyone. So, but as far as our church is concerned, we are a very small church. Our congregation, we have about 80 members.
Okay.
And as far as the demographics, it's probably 90% African American, 10% Hispanic, and then others.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah. And what about the school? What does the school look like?
I think it's primarily African American. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's about 70%, 60% African American. 30%, I would think, will be
Latinos.
Hispanic, Latinos, and then 10% others.
Okay, okay. And, that's good to know, too, right? Because you're serving the people from your own backyard, like I like to say. So it's important to know, what's the population that you're serving.
Right.
It would be cool, like if just think about all the churches that we have in our city.
Come on, now you're talking about language, okay?
Yeah, just thinking about all the churches, regardless of Catholic, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Think about all the churches that we have in our community. If every church adopted a school.
And that's what we had started working on last year. I'm going to put forth more effort on that this year. I'm meeting with the director of parent engagement so that I can, in fact, get more information about the parent liaisons, get their information, and then connect them with the churches. I, again, am a member of the Faith Leaders Roundtable, and that's, about 20 churches or so, different denominations, whatever. And I've been speaking with them and telling them that it's very important and that we support our children.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking all of the churches to come out, and wherever there is an elementary school in your area, I need you to connect with that parent liaison and begin to go into that school, not just to go in there to pray with them.
Right,
That's
right.
important. That we
Yeah,
continue-
and that'll come. That'll
Right,
come.
But develop that relationship so that
Yes.
when there is a need, they
Yeah.
know that they can call on you.
Yeah.
And you ought to be visible. You ought to be there. Let the children see that the community does care about
Yeah,
them.
Right.
yeah, and I think and I'm not going to say all churches because I can't speak for all churches, but some churches have lost that sight. That's not their, it's between their four walls.
Yes.
Sometimes a gate,
Yes.
right, to keep everybody out. Sometimes a gate, and they only worry about the people in their congregation.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what churches were supposed to be about.
No, not
right?
Not at all. And they
and
just need a reminder.
Yeah,
you know?
and so because I remember as a kid, I grew up on Woodward Street, and there was Mount Carmel Church there, and the people we would go to were the nuns. The nuns were the ones that would help us with anything, whatever it was that people needed. And people kind of got away from that. People don't service in that way anymore.
Right.
And so, just kudos for you. And I hope that you're able to accomplish that, even if it's with your round table of churches that you work with, if each one adapted a school close to them,
Right.
just imagine what that would look like.
And some of them have done so, and so we just want to expand that.
Yeah,
So we're going to
yeah.
put the call out to
Yeah.
all churches.
Yeah, no,
And it could be
yeah.
several churches coming together.
Well, in some schools, you may need more than one church because
Right.
you just said your congregation is only 80 people. When you think about it, that's not a lot of people,
Right.
Helping an entire school.
Right.
But you can maybe, collaborate with another church and you both service that, maybe you concentrate on one thing and somebody else concentrates on another thing.
Yes.
But I think they're all needed, right? They're all needed in order to service our schools. And what a better way to, also bring the word of God to whoever needs it, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it may not be your main focus at the beginning, but eventually you'll be able to, and also just to think about, like right now I'm thinking about Montgomery Church and all the nuns that were there that, that helped us in so many different ways. And then how can I pay that forward?
Right.
Right? How can I pay that forward and do maybe not in that same way, but in maybe some other way, right? That I'm able to help somebody in my community because, we have to learn. That's a learned behavior, right?
Yes.
Being a someone of service and being able to do something for other people is something that you have to literally learn, and you have to witness that, right? You have to say, in my case, my parents came here in 1952 when there was just a handful of Latinos, and all Latinos used to come knocking on our door. Are you Mr. and Mrs. Perez? Yes. Well, they told me that you could help. Yep, come on in. And my mom used to pull over the dining room table, and we had a long closet that had these little mattresses that she would pull out, and we would wake up in the morning. We would have total strangers in our living room sleeping. My mom the next day would take the women to the church. My dad would take the men to where he worked. And, and they helped many, many people like that. And so we grew up seeing that, right? We were in Ibero before there was an Ibero,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We were human services, human, serving the community before that was a thing. But we witnessed that as children, and just about all of my siblings serviced the community in some way or another because that's what we saw, right? And so sometimes kids don't see that, right? And what a better way for you guys to model that for those kids that you're serving in that school, in those schools.
Yeah, we really try to make a difference. And one of the things that we've done that I know have brought much joy to the students over at 25 School is that for Christmas, we purchased gifts for almost 300 students.
Wow.
And we've done that now for the last 4
Yeah.
years.
Yes.
The last 4 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big effort.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a big
Oh,
effort.
we start early.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, wow, that's really cool. Again, some kids may have plenty for Christmas and some kids may not have anything
Right.
for Christmas. And for them to be able to receive something and for doing, and that's the other thing, being really consistent.
Yes.
Because sometimes people have really great ideas and they go and they do it one year and then that's it. and then they don't come back, and then you don't see them anymore. But the fact that you have been consistent with, with this particular school,
Right.
I'm sure they're very appreciative of all the work that you guys bring there. Because,
Yeah. But we know that there is much need in all the schools.
Yeah.
And so it really is our prayer, our heart's desire, to see what we're doing or better,
Yeah.
even more,
Yeah.
for the children in all of the schools because they all need this.
Yeah. Now, we're all part of a collaborative with Greater Rochester Health Foundation, and specifically with a grant that we were all given. And I'm saying all because I'm part of Ibero and the grant that we received for Ibero with the Greater Rochester Health Foundation with the Health and Equitable Futures, and they really concentrated on children from 0 to 8. How does your church come into that? Like how, I know that I'm assuming that part of what you do with the school is part of that, but, tell us specifically what you're doing with that particular grant with that age group.
Well, we are in the process now of gathering more information, but our plan is to, again, expand the services that we've been providing all along. And that is really being that extended help arm to the parents. So if it means providing them with assistance with getting rides to school, if it means helping them to get their clothing for school, whatever it is that the children from 0 to 8 are in need of, our plan is to be a part of that and to collaborate with the others who are doing the same type of work.
Yeah. Because that's, it's really important. And it's interesting, that you guys as a church are part of that grant. Like, I don't know how that came about. I don't know how you guys came to that table, but it's outside. It's very different from what the rest of us do, right? Because a lot of us are, community organizations, that maybe have had servicing children for a long time, but that's not the case for you guys. So I'm curious as to what made you think of, that's something that we could probably do and benefit and be able to provide a service to the community.
It was just what we were led to do when we pray and we asked the Lord, where would you have us to serve? And so these type of things would just pretty much fall in our lap. People would come to us and say, we have this need. And then we would say, how can we help them? And we would then research the resources and then find out how we can help them. And so we just started doing the work. And the work then by word of mouth, people would talk about it. And based on what people were saying, then we received an opportunity to participate with the grant.
Yeah. And I know that the Greater Rochester Health Foundation have been a little bit I don't know. I don't even know what the word to use, but they're very different in the way that they think about this grant, right? It's not your traditional, typical grant where, you're going to have these outcomes and we want you to meet these outcomes and this is what we want you to do. It's basically, okay, what is the need? What is the need that's out there?
Right.
And then how can we support you type of thing? So I'm kind of glad that, they added you guys to this particular grant because you are very different from everybody else that's around that table. Now that I think about it, because it is directly coming from a church, which I don't know any other church that is doing something like that, with a particular grant and very specific from 0 to 8, right? That you're really looking at that age group. So that's, kudos to you guys for thinking outside of the box as well.
Yeah, we were recipients of a prior grant, and in our reporting of the work that we have been doing and the results, the impact, they were very much impressed with the outcome. And based on that, they determined that we would be a great organization for them to work with to continue the work that we're doing. So they wanted to support us in that.
Yeah. And I hope that, founders would think about that, because they usually do look for organizations, right? Community-based organizations, people that have been established for a while or whatever, or are serving a specific, community or population or whatever demographics, whatever the case may be. But to me, that's really thinking outside of the box and that there be other opportunities for for other churches to be able to do the same thing as well, especially if they adapt. Can you imagine if there's a grant just for those churches that decide to adapt a school?
Yes.
You know?
That would absolutely be
Let's claim
wonderful.
that.
Yes,
Let's claim
let's say that. Let's say that.
And and you know,
Let's say that.
and because our heart really is to make a difference as in as many areas as we can in supporting our children, you know, I'm willing to work with them and support the other pastors if they're willing to do the work.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, you guys definitely can serve as a model for others of the work. You know, and people can have different ideas, right?
Yes.
Different ideas because every community is something different.
Yes.
And I think that would be the cool part of it too, right? That everybody is doing something different in their
Yes.
areas based on the needs of that community.
Yes.
Because what might work for you guys may not necessarily work for somebody else, but something else can work for them, right?
Exactly.
Because they're you know, depending on the needs and also the population. I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool what you guys
And
are
we
doing.
recently did a survey of the parents at number
Mm-hmm.
25 school because we really wanted to know what the parents felt about the school,
Mm-hmm.
what needs they felt they needed as a family, and what areas that they think that we as a volunteer group could come in and really be of assistance to them. So we sent out almost 300 surveys, and we got about 30% back, which is a pretty good number, you know. So we're now taking that and summarizing it so that we can determine how we can best support them going forward.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. That's good too. That you're having, you know, parents' voice and what it is that their needs are as well.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking too. Sometimes, you know, when we meet parents, young parents, sometimes they're in a different place in their life. They don't know about parenting. They don't always have the parenting skill, and then sometimes they're in a place where they're depressed or they're just scared to ask the question, or scared to ask for help, or scared to ask for services, or they've been turned away, or said no to so many times. And so if they're coming to visit us and we see them out in the community, they're asking questions, and we're able to give them the answer, give them support, or give them resources. So if we don't have it, you know, it's great to be a part of the collab, so we can get them to the right resources, to the right program, because sometimes their programs are out there, people just don't know where to go.
Right.
They don't know what the resources to connect to. And it's good to be able to connect her so we can connect them to the right place. And knowing that they could trust us with their personal information, and, you know, and be able to say what is really going on in their life. Yeah.
But that's also the way you guys have built relationship with them, you know.
Yes.
I think the messenger is always so important, right? Who's bringing this forward? Like who's doing this? You know, and the fact that you guys have been consistent with what you've been doing so far is pretty cool. So people know you, right? They know, okay, they've been here for 24 years, you know, they've been consistent, you know, they've been helping the school for several years now. You know, these are people that we can trust. And that's important. You know, that's that relationship with the people in the community is so important because the messenger is important. You know,
Even with the relationship with OCFS, they see us as a resource. And so, you know, where their service ends, you know, we're an extension. You know, so they'll reach out to us and say, we have a family who is in need, you know. We just recently helped out a family, a mother of 3, who had been living in their car. And so praise God, she was able to get an apartment. And so we went over and just purchased items that she needed and took them to her there. She was just so grateful. So, you know, we're a great resource, you know, out in the community for those who are in need.
And you've been able to get into organizations that are not always easy to navigate, right? That are not always easy to build. And not to say that, you know, anything bad about OCFS, because I work with them in different ways. But, you know, as a director, I had a licensor, and so we have to follow those regulations and all of that. But, you know, those are not easy places to go and say, you know, let us help these families. Because usually, you know, when a family is involved with OCFS to that extent is because serious things are happening, right? So it's not, you know, it's, you know, you're taking on some people with some real trauma, with some real great needs, with, you know, that may need not just, you know, a 1-year type of thing, but, you know, to be consistent for several years, to keep checking in on that family, right? So those are not easy systems to penetrate in, and you guys have been very courageous to do that.
I say that God has equipped us and he has connected us divinely with the right individuals, and he's shining a light so that people can see
Yeah.
That this is a place that truly cares. Where
Yeah.
where love is an action word.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, definitely. I want to take a few minutes to kind of summarize in Spanish a little bit about what we've been talking about, just so that our Spanish speakers can know what we've been sharing so far. Estoy hablando con Linda Strickland Wade, que es una de las pastoras en la iglesia que ellos tienen aquí en nuestra área. Hay varias cosas que ellos están haciendo en su iglesia. Una de ellas es proveyendo comida para esas personas que lo necesitan, libros, juguetes. Ellos también tienen una cocina móvil en la cual ellos proveen comida caliente para las personas que lo necesitan. Ellos han estado trabajando bien cercano con la escuela número 25, en el cual ellos han podido proveerle diferentes servicios a los niños y las familias de ahí, incluyendo un almacén de ropa, que si los niños necesitan ropa, pueden ir ahí a coger la ropa que ellos necesitan. También han estado trabajando con the YWCA, con las mujeres de ese centro en particular, ayudándolos con, ellos tenían una sala de comunidad en la cual se reunían, ellos pudieron ir y pintarlo, conseguirle muebles nuevos, tener juegos, que cuestión de que si a las familias ahí, las mujeres que están ahí tienen sus familias, visitarlos, tienen un sitio donde llevarlo, ¿verdad? Donde los puedan recibir. Ellos también están buscando, ¿verdad?, otras iglesias que quizás se quieran unir con ellos y colaborar con ellos para poder servir las escuelas. Una de las metas de ellos es poder tener una iglesia para cada escuela o quizás varias iglesias para ciertas escuelas que puedan ir y ayudar con las necesidades de esos niños que están ahí. Ellos también trabajan con OCFS, que es la Oficina de Servicios para Niños y Familia, en la cual ellos tienen ciertos días que ellos reúnen esas familias y las traen, le dan una comida, tienen una charla con ellos, le dan entrenamiento sobre trauma y quizás otras cosas que las familias estén pasando. Definitivamente una iglesia que está haciendo mucho por su comunidad y es una iglesia pequeña, porque creo que solamente tienen 80 miembros, pero han podido hacer muchas cosas bonitas en la comunidad, sirviendo no solamente a la familia, pero también específicamente a los niños de 0 a 8 años. Y de eso es lo que hemos estado hablando en el día de hoy. Y estoy bien, bien emocionada y bien contenta con los servicios que ellos están proveyendo, porque definitivamente algo diferente, ¿verdad? Viniendo de una iglesia, los servicios que ellos están proveyendo en nuestra comunidad. Después voy a dar la dirección. So, what is your address again?
1751 Clifford Avenue.
So, la 1751 de la Clifford Avenue, donde ellos están localizados. También ellos cogen donaciones para el food pantry que ellos tienen, para el almacén de comida que ellos tienen. También buscan libros y juguetes, o cualquier persona que quiera donar algo para ellos pueden ir a ese lugar y donar cualquier cosa que ellos tengan. I was just saying, that if people are interested in donating either toys or food or books to your organization, that they're where you're located, so people can go there.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else that you want to tell us about your organization, or things that are coming up, or things that you're doing, or who you're looking to collaborate with? I know you said definitely other churches.
Yes.
Maybe other organizations. I know we already have a pretty large collaboration within the Health and Equity Futures, but there might be others, right, that you can join.
Yeah, and I know that we're looking at, to maybe get coordinate or get with the collaboration. We'll just start working with parents and families. We've been talking about wills and living proxies, paid on death type things like that, bank accounts. Financial literacy, things that people don't talk about, dollars, and preparing for life experiences, or preparing for death, or preparing for funeral expenses. We see a lot of time in the community, your loved one passed away, and people are not prepared, and they don't know what direction to take. And so I would just love to be able to do some literature around that, or some education, and partner with people, or companies or organizations around that to educate our people. Yeah.
Definitely. And that's a great, we were talking about that earlier. I was just sharing, it just so happens we were
Yes.
talking about that. I was sharing how my mom had everything paid for. Like two things she would always say, if you're born, you're going to die. So you got to prepare for both, right? And so she had a will, which she updated several times throughout her life, and especially the last 8 years before she passed, because during that time my father passed, my older brother passed, so she had to update her will. And she left all her expenses paid for, and all the instructions. She had picked out her coffin, her dress, her flowers,
Amazing.
her little cards. I mean, she left money for her obituary, which was very, very long. She had all of that prepared. And one of the things she said, I don't want to burden my children with having to make all those decisions during a very emotional time. And it was very helpful because there are at the time there was 8 of us. Imagine 8 people having to make decisions on one person, regardless of how well you get along or whatever, is still going to create some kind of friction, right? Not with her, because she had all of that prepared. And it's unfortunate because we see a lot of people GoFundMe when someone dies. Like they're not. The first thing I think is that's more important, and I think this is one of the things that I appreciate about my mother, is she was never afraid to talk about dying. Right? She knew it was coming.
Right.
Like it's unavoidable, right? We're all gonna die.
Exactly.
Right.
So she was never afraid to talk about it, and I see a lot of people. No, I don't want to talk about that.
Yes.
No, I don't want to.
Right.
It's gonna happen. You gotta talk about it. You gotta let people know what you want. And so I really appreciate that from my mom, but a lot of people don't do that. They don't want to talk about it.
Right.
They just don't want to talk about it.
Right.
And it's unbelievable because then, and I've seen it. I've seen it in the opposite way of my mom where, there's a lot of fighting and arguing and deciding and then not even knowing what people had.
Right.
I mean, even people that worked and had maybe like a life insurance or people didn't know. They didn't know what life insurance they had, how much they had, where to go to get it. Like all that stuff that just it's just like, oh my God, I can't, and I'm definitely a different breed because my mom really taught us that, right? And I'm so grateful to that. But most people don't talk about that.
We talk about that all the time, only because I work in human resources.
Right.
So I deal with life insurance all the time.
Right.
And I see people are not prepared and they're not ready.
Yeah.
And so I'm encouraging people, listen, get life insurance. We talk about how to get those policies. You can go to credit unions and just get even if you a credit union member, you can get a basic $1,000 life insurance policy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start with something.
Right.
Yeah. And build from there.
Yeah.
Just start small.
Yeah.
And being prepared. I tell people when you pass away, they don't know where your life insurance policies are at. Put it all in a folder.
So what do we have at Church of Life Ministries?
So at Church of Life Ministries, we talk about life insurance. We talk about death. We talk about
proxy and
Well,
proxy.
we have we call it a life book.
A life
and
book.
what that is a blue folder that I give to all the members. And in that blue folder, I say you put all of your pertinent documents in there.
See?
So if anything happens, if they contact me as your pastor, I'm going to say, look for that blue folder.
right.
That's a life book that will have all the information that you need.
Yes. And once you get that book, right, tell your family, hey, this is my book.
Yes.
This is where I keep it, my
Exactly.
nightstand or wherever it is that you're going to put it.
Yes.
So people know where to go and find it.
Yes.
And it just eliminates, and it's funny because I've even heard people say, especially Latino people say, when I die, they could throw me down a hill. Well, if it was that easy, right? If we could do that, then okay, fine. But that's not the case. We can't throw you down a hill.
Right.
Que me tiren por un puente or throw me down a bridge. If we could do that, that's perfect. But we can't.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the reality of life. We cannot do that. And so, and a lot of people don't get a will.
Right.
Which I understand, okay, fine, but at least let somebody know what it is that you want.
Yes.
What it is that you want, especially when and I've seen this a lot, when people are on life support. Did that person want to be on life support?
Right.
And most people, no, they don't. Like, who wants to be on life support and have everybody else suffer, right? And then sometimes we, as the outside person or the person that's not on life support, now we're selfish. Now we don't want to let that person go.
No,
That person is suffering.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all those things, and I understand, it's a big emotional thing. And I remember with my daughter's father, which you helped me when he passed, when, with some of the stuff that he had still at ABC, one of my daughter was, Mom, we got to let him go. My other daughter did not want to let him go. And so we had to kind of convince her, your dad is suffering. He suffered enough.
Right.
Like, let's not keep prolonging his suffering, and then eventually she came around. But even things like that, right? That it's just unbelievable.
Yes.
And the other thing is that, first of all, we can't throw you over a bridge. We
Right.
can't do that,
Can't do
right?
that.
Might be the cheapest way to do it, but we can't do that. But it's a cost.
Yes.
Whatever you do,
It's a
even if you do
cost.
the minimum thing of being cremated,
It's a
it's
cost.
still a cost.
Absolutely.
Even to where to put the ashes, you still
Still
have to
have
buy
to
an
buy.
urn,
Right.
right, to put it in.
Yes.
That's the things that people don't
Yes.
think about.
Right.
But those people that always say, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it," you have to.
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
have to. Not for you. Do it for the people that you're going to
Absolutely.
leave behind,
that
so
you
that
love.
they're not confused. If you really love them,
Yes.
so that they're not confused, so that there's no chaos, there's no
Right.
fighting, there's no arguing,
Yes.
there's no begging for money.
Exactly.
All of those other things. But I love that. I love that your church does that with all of their members, and I wish other churches that may be listening should probably start something like that,
Yes.
because a lot of times it's those people that go to church that then are GoFundMe type of thing, because no one ever talked about it. And those
Right.
are the type of conversations that I
Yes.
think churches need to have.
Exactly.
Because if they come to you and they respect you and have some type of level of integrity with you, you have that opportunity to teach people
Absolutely.
not just about the word of God,
Yes.
but what's going to
About
happen
life.
Your
about
finance,
life,
yes,
and your
right.
finances.
Right.
Financial literacy is another thing. I teach a class at RELC, and as part of their curriculum, they do a financial literacy, and the Dr. Bernie, she starts off with, what are your wants and what are your needs.
Yes.
And then when people look at those wants, oh my God, look at all the money I'm spending. I remember one student saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I paid $20 for a lip gloss." That was a want. You don't really need that lip gloss.
Right.
Spend that money in something else. Put that money aside, or put it into, a savings account or something, right? Or a life insurance, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to partner with an organization, even when we talk about your wills and your life insurance and stuff like that. All your important papers. People don't think about your birth certificate.
Yes.
Those are important documents, and you should have them in a safe.
Safe. Yeah.
So just buy a little box, a little fireproof box, a little fireproof safe, things like that to put your personal things in, because it's so important. So we really would like to be able to partner and just talk about that and be able to offer that to people. And I'm like you, I have that conversation with my family all the time. What's going to happen when I leave? They don't want to hear that conversation, but I make it fun.
Yeah.
I want this color, this. I want this.
Yes.
I mean, and so that way I make it comfortable.
Yeah,
Our conversation, so
definitely,
they can ask the questions now versus asking them later.
So Church of Life definitely
life.
covers a
Life.
lot of stuff,
Yes.
right, of what you
Right.
guys do. Thank you both for being here with us today. I like to end the show by asking if there's a phrase or a saying that you grew up with that still resonates with you today, and I don't know if either one of you have one.
I would say it takes a village to raise a child. We're better together.
Yeah.
Let's get this done for our children.
Yeah, let's do it right.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you?
And I would do believe that what you do for one, if you be nice to others will truly be nice for you.
Yeah.
I say every day that I'm a blessing, going to be a blessing to somebody else.
That's right.
And
right.
that's my
Yeah.
saying every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my brother says that too. He says every morning, he says, "God, how can I be a blessing for someone else?"
Yeah. Servitude.
Yeah,
Servitude.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing all the wonderful work that you're doing. Gracias a todos por acompañarnos en esta mañana. Lo esperamos nuevamente el próximo sábado de 10 a 11 de la mañana en Poder 97.1 FM, la única estación radial latina con dueños y operados por latinos, por la comunidad, para la comunidad. Esto ha sido su hora informativa, trayendo la información importante que nos inspira a una mejor calidad de vida. Que pasen una linda semana. Hasta la próxima, mi gente.